I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well.
Hello.
I'm a double.
I'm ready. Welcome to the Young Turks. It's been an insane news day. As you can imagine, we have been working incredibly hard up to the wire, and here we are. There's a huge story developing right now out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, following a fatal ICE shooting of an American citizen. So we'll give you the details on that. In the second hour, Cenk Uygur will be joining us, and we'll talk about the ongoing protests in response to that shooting. There's so much news to get to today, guys, so please bear with us because there's a lot developing as we're on air, and we're gonna do our best to stay on top of things. We're also gonna give you an update on more tankers that are being seized by the United States, one of which apparently had a Russian flag, so things are really heating up. If you're under the impression that following the ouster of Nicolas Maduro, things have calmed down. They absolutely have not. And we finally have a reporter who had the audacity to ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio, how much is all of this aggression toward Venezuela costing US taxpayers? Pete Hegseth had a fascinating response to that, by the way. We'll talk about the state of blue collar jobs in America. Have they increased under Donald Trump? He claimed he wanted to increase manufacturing, but does the data bear that out? Lots to get to. So I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right to the massive developing story out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. A woman in Minneapolis, Minnesota was fatally shot by an ICE agent today. Now, this story is still developing. I'm sure those who follow this type of news on social media have come across the multiple videos that have gone viral of the tragic event. But the victim was described as a 37-year-old white woman, and that's according to Minneapolis police officials. And soon after this story broke, we had a little more clarity in terms of the identity of this woman. So she's 37-year-old Nicole Good. Renee Nicole Good, her bio on social media stated that she was a poet, a writer, a wife, and a mom, and that she was from Colorado but experiencing Minneapolis, Minnesota. She is now unfortunately dead as a result of an ICE agent shooting her. Now, later in the segment, we're gonna show you what I think is the clearest video of the incident. But first, let me give you some more context. So witnesses, along with video evidence, do contradict the claims that are being made by federal officials who allege that the shooting happened in self-defense. I'm sure that there will be many who defend the Trump administration, especially when it comes to his deportations and his deployment of ICE agents. They're gonna see the video and they're gonna say, no, she tried to run them over. I have a different take. We're gonna watch the video and the the slowed down version as well, and you can judge for yourselves. But here's what the feds are saying. So soon after the shooting was reported, Tricia McLaughlin, who's the Assistant Secretary Deputy of Homeland Security, says on X that today ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them, an act of domestic terrorism. So these are very strong words. I want you to remember them as we watch the video. But let me continue with the rest of what she had to say. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, she says, the lives of his fellow law enforcement and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training and saved his own life and that of his fellow officers. So here's what DHS Secretary Kristi Noem had to say. Here's her account.
It was an act of domestic terrorism.
What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased.
So you now have the perspective of the federal government. They're claiming, well, these ICE agents, they were in imminent danger. They were being run over. They were being run over. Okay. Well, luckily there were witnesses on the scene who filmed the entire thing. There are multiple videos from multiple angles. I've watched as many of them as I could find. This one happened to be the clearest one in my view. So we're gonna watch the video as it was filmed in real time, and then we're gonna watch the slowed down version of it. I want you to pay attention to the placement of the federal agents. I want you to pay attention to the wheels of her vehicle and where they are turning, because I think that's important. I want you to focus on the speed in which she is moving her vehicle. With all of that in mind, here is the video showing what happened. Take a quick look. So before we get to the slowed down version of the video, I want to reiterate what we heard from DHS, or what we read from DHS, that there were violent rioters present. Look, we don't have the full context, right? So we don't know what happened before that video or that phone started filming that video. But as far as what we saw, was there a violent riot? I didn't see a violent riot in that video. Now, more information could emerge that shows otherwise, but now they also claim that the driver was attempting to run the ICE agent over. It looked to me that she was slowly pulling forward and moving the wheels of her vehicle to evade the police or to evade the ICE agents. Now you can say, well, evading officials, evading law enforcement is wrong, and that's fair if you want to say that. That does not justify shooting and killing an American citizen or shooting and killing anyone. Now people are asking, well, what was the ICE agent supposed to do? I'll show you what he was supposed to do. Move out of the way. I didn't even need training for that. Move out of the way. He had enough time to reach for his gun, but he didn't have enough time to move out of the way. DHS official also claimed that the two ICE agents were injured. Did they look injured to you? So that's my perception of it. Now let's watch the slowed down version of the video and pay attention to the wheels of her vehicle, because that'll show you that she wasn't trying to run into him. She's trying to evade the ICE agent. Take a look. So we've heard from the federal government attempting to defend themselves after this pretty damning incident took place. And by the way, this is with the backdrop of all these other cases in which ICE agents have brutalized people, including American citizens. And we're gonna get to that context in just a second, because I'm gonna show you the goods. But because of that video that I just showed you, the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, I should say, weighed in and said, these claims that the ICE agents did this in self-defense is BS. Take a look.
They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets, and in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying.
And as you can imagine, Trump had a very different take because he wants to defend this type of state-sponsored violence against everyone. Doesn't matter if you're an immigrant or not an immigrant. Doesn't matter if you're an American citizen or not. I mean, this is the type of state-sponsored violence that we are now living under in the United States. You don't like the fact that she's trying to evade authorities? That's fine. How about you arrest her? But in that moment, you have a choice to make as an ICE agent. You either gun down and kill an American citizen, or you just move out of the way and you catch up with her later and press charges against her. But that's not what happened. Here's what Trump said. I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. I agree with that part. But he continues, the woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer? Did you see an ICE officer get run over? Because I didn't. Like, the gaslighting is out of control, man. It's out of control. And this is what Trump does. This is the only thing Trump is really good at. He's really good at looking at a fire and telling himself, how can I make this worse? Oh, look, I've got a gallon of gasoline. Let me go ahead and pour it all over the fire. There are mass protests taking place in Minnesota right now. Rather than calming things down like a leader would, fire, I love it. Let me just pour gasoline on that. There's more. He says, based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive. It was a woman. Oh wait, I'm sorry, he's talking about the ICE agent. It's hard to believe he is alive. He finds it hard to believe that the ICE agent who didn't get run over is alive, who didn't get hit by the car is alive. He's amazed by that. I am so sick of brain dead politicians ruling our lives, stealing our money, and terrorizing us. I'm sick of it. Important to note that the agent, again, was not rushed to the hospital. In fact, video shows that the agent that Trump is surprised survived this vicious attack, got in his vehicle and drove away. As for the footage that I showed you, I want to talk a little bit about the witness, what she saw, because she did mention that the victim here attempted to block the ICE agents, and that probably upset them, and that's probably why they felt in their minds it was justified to rob a human being of her life. So the witness who took the video, Caitlin Callinson, said she was on a walk when she saw an ICE vehicle stuck in the snow. As more ICE vehicles arrived, bystanders blew whistles in protest, and the driver of the SUV tried to block the ICE vehicles. And the part that really disgusts me is the following. After the shots were fired, the driver was completely slumped over in the vehicle, said Emily Heller, another witness. Federal agents wouldn't allow a man who said he was a physician to examine the driver, Heller said. Emergency medical technicians arrived 15 minutes later, she said. So that was bad enough. I didn't know if what the witness was saying here was true. Sometimes witnesses, their recollection isn't entirely accurate, but it turns out we have video showing the ICE agents preventing the doctor from reaching the woman who had just been shot. Take a look.
Go check a pulse. No, back up now. I'm a physician.
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming, and I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Medics. Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my neighbor. You caught your butter in the face. You killed my neighbor. How do you show up to work every day? How
So Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty has issued a statement. The statement was issued soon after the shooting, saying she is pushing hard for a local investigation, which is the only way to ensure full transparency and review by our office. Now look, everything that I'm sharing with you is everything that I have seen, everything that's been reported and disseminated since this story broke. Again, it's a developing story and there might be more information coming out. I'm certain there will be more information coming out soon. But I want to talk a little bit about what's been happening in the backdrop of this tragic incident, because this is not the first time that under the Trump administration, ICE agents have carried out acts of violence against human beings, claim that they did so in self-defense, and then later we find that the evidence shows otherwise. So I'll give you specific examples. In October, for instance, October of 2025, a 30-year-old teacher's assistant by the name of Miramar Martinez was driving around Chicago to essentially warn Latino members of the community there that immigration agents were coming. US Customs and Border Protection agents were riding in a car behind her. One of them aimed an assault rifle at her and shouted, "Do something, bitch," before opening fire. Video of the incident shows. Martinez, an American citizen, was hit 5 times. Shot 5 times and miraculously survived. The agents claimed she rammed their car and they arrested her. It was all in self-defense, right? Except it wasn't. Turns out that Martinez's lawyers provided video evidence that contradicted that claim, and it showed that the agents were the ones who actually rammed her car. And the prosecutors, by the way, dropped the case. So the court case produced text messages from the agent who shot her, bragging about his feat. Quote, "I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys." Where are all the American patriots who claimed that they would fight back against a tyrannical government? Because this is state-sponsored violence against Americans. And it's been going on for months, by the way. This happened in October. Put that in your book, boys. I shot a woman multiple times after we rammed her car and then turned around and lied and said she rammed us. So we had to do it in self-defense. These are thugs. These are disgusting, masked thugs who are basically emboldened by the thugs in the White House right now. So the Trace tracked ICE-related shootings from January 7th through December 8th of last year, so about a full year. And here's what they found. There have been 28, there have been 28 such incidents, including 14 shootings by ICE officials. They include the shootings of 3 people observing or documenting ICE raids, the shootings of 5 people driving away from traffic stops or evading an enforcement action, and the September 30th raid on a Chicago apartment building during which half-asleep tenants, many of whom were American citizens, by the way, and their children were held at gunpoint. At least 4 people have been killed, and this is, by the way, up to December 7th. So obviously the number has increased since, but as of December, at least 4 people have been killed and 5 others have been injured. So tragically, the number of people who've been killed is at least 5 now by ICE agents. And claiming self-defense, again, is really a big tactic that they have repeatedly used. So here's another example. CNN reported another case back in October. Car crashes and rammings take center stage in immigration crackdown. So this had to do with the case of a woman by the name of Diane Figueroa. So back in October, ICE officers in an SUV struck the car of the Chicago resident who's a paralegal. Now DHS was making an arrest and hit her car. And as they were trying to get away from a crowd of people protesting, which the victim was part of, this happened. So despite her not being at fault for anything, the federal agents, by the way, surrounded her car and then they dragged her onto the ground. And that's what you're about to see in this next video.
What's wrong? You hit her. You hit her. You guys hit her. Y'all got no heart, for real. No heart. No heart.
Stop. Get off.
Crazy.
Get off.
She's a female.
Get off of her right now.
You guys hit her. How you guys gonna arrest her?
Get off.
You guys hit her. Who's this? Man, how y'all gonna arrest her?
After that, they put her in an unmarked vehicle and they left her in that car in the middle of the street with the keys still in the ignition. And if you're wondering, well, she must have done something wrong. I'm sure they pressed some charges against her. No, she was eventually released hours after the arrest without any charges. So congratulations, America. You're all working hard, you're paying your taxes, you're seeing your money robbed by your federal government to fund foreign wars and essentially oil seizures on behalf of oil companies who I'm now learning that the profits from said oil isn't gonna be sent to the Treasury. Trump announced this apparently. It's gonna be sent to offshore accounts. Congratulations, congratulations. Making America great again, America first. Federal agents shooting and killing American citizens and pretending like they had to do so because they were in imminent danger. We'll talk about the protests that have arisen as a result of this and more in the second hour when Cenk joins. For now, we're gonna take a break. We'll come back with more news. All right, welcome to our first social break of the day. We've got AKA Delaware Dragon who says, I think they're trying to instigate George Floyd level protest as an excuse to move on to full-scale martial law in Minneapolis as a dress rehearsal for the rest of the major population centers come election time. Look, honestly, at this point, I don't put anything past the Trump administration. They're thugs. They're thugs. The way that Trump has been behaving, I mean, it was bad enough in his first term. His second term is far worse. There are no brakes on the car. Rule of law doesn't matter whatsoever. It's just absurd. Anyway, Cenk's left tricep of fury says, a group of armed men with masks surrounding a car with one female. Why would she not drive away? Now, there are reports that her husband was in the passenger seat. It's not confirmed, so I want to be clear about that. So take it for a grain of salt until we can confirm it. But there was a video I came across showing her husband and their dog in a lot of distress, sitting on the ground after the shooting happened. Look, guys, these are human lives. Like we live in a really scary time when we don't see the humanity in people. You see one person do something you don't like try to get away from the authorities, and you think that she deserves to have her life robbed from her. Like, I see people online totally justifying this. Do you value human lives or not? Like, I don't understand it. This could have involved, I don't know, It could have involved one of these anti-abortion protesters. I would never defend the feds shooting and killing one of those protesters because I don't like what she's protesting. But I don't know, we just live in a world where we've seen our government, our Defense Department or War Department devalue human lives over and over and over again. We've been seeing it on social media endlessly, especially in places like the Middle East. I think we've been conditioned to not value humans or human lives, even if they're American citizens. I mean, I value human lives, period. I don't care if they're American citizens or not. But in this case, you have Border Patrol and ICE shooting and killing American citizens, and you have American citizens defending it. It's mind-blowing to me. Matrix Elmo in our Twitch sub says, TYT fam, ICE is arresting and killing Americans. This is not America first. It's never been America first. That was a big lie. I think that's abundantly clear now. Trump sees us as a piggy bank for corporations. And I'm not kidding about that. I mean, he's talking about how, the oil companies don't have to worry about spending tens of billions of dollars in extracting oil from Venezuela because the US taxpayers will reimburse them for it. They're going to privatize gains, socialize losses, always, always. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I know it seems like I'm low energy today. I'm just really distraught by everything that's in the news, so bear with me. But I do want to promote something that I'll be doing this Saturday, and if you have some free time, I would love if you attended. I will be debating someone who goes by Pearl, just Pearly Things on social media. The issue that we're going to be debating is whether or not feminism has been positive or negative for society. She is someone who's known for saying some pretty horrible things about women in general, lots of generalizations, a lot of really terrible claims, which I think really happen to be projection. She's someone who doesn't have a lot of high self-esteem, let's just put it that way. But there is a promotional video that I think is hilarious because of the use of AI. I think I look terrible in it because it's not me, it's an AI video. So enjoy, let's take a look at this. You can get your tickets at Word War Debate. That's Word, W-O-R-D, debate, wordwardebate.com. And yeah, I gotta say the AI did make Pearl look better at least, but I didn't really like the rest of it. Anyway, it doesn't matter, that's just the promotional material. Definitely buy your tickets if you're interested, and I hope to see you there. All right, let's move on to more news, because I wanted to talk a little bit about a pretty damning report from DropSite that you should all know about, because they did some digging into Canary Mission and they found some pretty damning information. Let's get right to it. A damning new report from DropSite News is exposing the inner workings of Canary Mission, the pro-Israel group whose central mission is to destroy the lives of anyone in the United States who has the audacity to be critical of Israel. Now, DropSite discovered a Canary Mission affiliated website, an unlisted website known as Black Nest. And it reveals the group's plans to essentially expand their mission. And it also shows exactly how they like to celebrate various things that they've accomplished, including deportations and firings of Israel's critics. Now, Canary Mission's entire agenda is to dox pro-Palestinian activists and anyone who dares speak out against what Israel has been carrying out in the Middle East, certainly in Gaza. They publish workplaces, photos, family members, so family members can be terrorized and harassed, like my husband has been. They also go after, they basically put out as much personal information as they can about their targets and then pressure their place of work to fire them. And unfortunately, we have all sorts of employers throughout this country that are just terrified of any backlash. So they do the bidding of these disgusting individuals who don't even live here in the United States. They're not even Americans. So their targets have included students Mahmoud Khalil and Rumiesa Ozturk. That was the Tufts University student, PhD student, who had co-written an op-ed drawing attention to various investments that the school had made that was benefiting, the Israeli defense companies. Now, they were both arrested, by the way, and detained by ICE, and that was the good hard work of Canary Mission. Now that we're acquainted with who Canary Mission is or what they do, Black Nest, their unlisted site, was accessed through the back end of Canary Mission's website and wasn't intended to be found publicly. But DropSite News does great work. They found it. And so as they explain in their reporting, Black Nest is just one of the names of several unlisted websites and content management systems used by Canary Mission, whose doxing operation is run out of Israel and used by the highest levels of the Trump administration. We know how much Trump loves to be told what to do by his boss or bosses over in Israel, right? So, in Black Nest's web development content, they admit that their goal is to ruin people's lives through these pressure campaigns that they do. The website categorizes the group's impacts in two categories: change of behavior, job loss, denials of entry to the US, arrests, and deportation / forced to flee. I thought the change of behavior was particularly interesting because they are basically stalking critics of Israel to see if their pressure campaign has effectively silenced them from criticizing Israel. So don't do it. Don't let them scare you. These people are thugs, they're not Americans. You shouldn't kowtow to foreigners who don't give a damn about this country and only care about a genocidal regime that we should have nothing to do with. So the site also includes operational and personnel information about Canary Mission. Fun. So over 30 unique doxers appear to have created fake Facebook and other social media accounts to track and screenshot information about profiled pro-Palestine activists and students. The Facebook accounts are friends with each other, and the fake identities are all presented as Americans, of course, of varying ethnic backgrounds. My favorite is when it's an obvious Israeli posing as like a Muslim or an Iranian, or in some cases, even a Palestinian. And then they're just trashing Palestinians the whole time. It's like, I don't know about you. This is a new account and you seem super sus. But additionally, a team overview page lists a staff achievement of someone named Sherry, who identified the activist from a viral video, and Nora is lauded for completing the Stanford arrest profiles. So that likely refers to the students, the Stanford students who were added to Canary Mission's site after participating in some of the pro-Palestine marches and protests on campus in 2024. Now, a team update section offers a branding update with instructions to the team to add a tagline to all posts about New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Quote, a vote for Mamdani is a vote for chaos in New York City. A lot of New York City individuals who happen to be Jewish voted for him. That's really interesting. So I love the fact that their little propaganda campaign didn't work when it comes to, preventing the election of Mamdani or the election of anyone. It doesn't even matter. Like, it could be a politician I have no interest in whatsoever. I think it's wrong for foreigners to meddle in our elections. Remember when Democrats had a problem with that? At least when they pretended to have a problem with foreigners meddling in our elections. So anyway, let's talk about their previous goals and their plans for the future, because they do plan to expand. So Black Nest also gives insight into some of Canary Mission's more specific goals, both past and present. So the site featured a 21-page strategic planning document for one day in July before being deleted. So the PDF listed group's core values, the group's core values. So fight those who hate the Jewish people. No one's mentioning Jewish people unless they're literally anti-Semites. Anti-Semites just say the Jews. They don't hide it. Okay, if you listen to Nick Fuentes' show, right, or if you've seen any of his clips that go viral on the internet, he doesn't say Zionists, he doesn't say the Israeli government, he doesn't say IDF, he says global Jewry. Okay, the critics of Israel, which I am part of, are critical of a foreign country. Just as all sorts of Zionists are critical of Iran. Oh, does that mean that they're Islamophobe? I mean, yeah, they are kind of Islamophobes, to be honest with you. But anyway, let me move on. Obviously, this is not about hating Jewish people. It's about hating a genocidal regime that has carried out assassinations in sovereign countries. I mean, I was reading a list of Israeli assassinations around the world dating back decades. They've assassinated people all across the globe in all sorts of sovereign countries, including Western countries, Belgium, France. But God forbid you say anything negative about that precious country, that special country, that genocidal, disgusting country. Yeah, I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna say it every day, and I'm gonna fight every day until our country and our taxpayers are no longer slaves to that disgusting genocidal regime. But the document also outlines the group's core targets from 2021 to 2024 at dismantling the core 7, AMP, SJP, INN, JVP, CARE, WOL, FJP, referring to major pro-Palestine student and activist groups and nonprofits. So these are the bullet points in the target section of the document. So anonymity as a tool to scare the enemy. I'm not scared of you bitches. Attack the messenger, not the message. Well, they're real good at that, but by attacking the messenger, not the message, what they've effectively done is cheapen the word anti-Semite, and no one buys the claim that someone's anti-Semitic anymore, even if they are anti-Semitic. So congratulations, morons. There's more, providing real consequence for anti-Semitism and anti-Israel activism. F Israel. I have no problem with Jewish people. I have a problem with Jewish people who think it's okay to slaughter innocents because they're special and they think that they have the right to do it. I have a problem with them. So it's not really about the fact they're Jewish. It's really about their ideology, their inhumane behavior. That's what I've got a problem with. But I'll continue. Data-driven expertise in North American anti-Semitism. Impact-driven, we change the behavior of the enemy. Not all of them. Bottom-up approach, using individuals to take down orgs. We are the adult in the room. We are the adult in the room. They're literally stalking, they're foreigners stalking American citizens for their political speech against a foreign country. You're the adults in the room? They're the most weak, pathetic, whiny bitches on the planet who literally make a name for themselves destroying people's lives because their feelings are hurt over criticism. You're the adults in the room? So for 2025, Canary Mission's goals included sharing data with their donors. I'm sure they've got plenty of those, and writing 150 new enemy profiles per week. Wow. So Black Nest also collected and posted news articles about Canary Mission's successes, including deportations and instances of people choosing to flee the United States in the wake of arrests that unfolded since Trump took office. When NBC reported that the Department of Homeland Security testified in court that they used Canary Mission to choose targets for deportation in July, Black Nest uploaded a PDF to the article to the impact section of the site. And then in June, there was a blurb from a piece in The Nation that was tagged as high impact. So the excerpt was from a May editorial by Abdelrahman El-Jendi, an Egyptian writer who fled political imprisonment in Egypt. He wrote about deciding to flee the United States after seeing the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, knowing he too was on Canary Mission's site as a target. Now, unfortunately, Canary Mission isn't the only outlet that's looking to destroy the lives of Americans, even naturalized Americans, if they happen to criticize Israel. But their tactics are particularly nefarious, right? And these are the kinds of tactics that you would see politicians on the left speak out against if it's a country that they don't like. So if this was a group of Russians, for instance, this would be like a 24/7 story all over the news. Oh my God, Russia is trying to destroy the lives and the livelihoods of American citizens. They're posing as Americans, but it's really Russians. They're stalking Americans. Total psychopaths, right? Like if any other country did it, I feel like there would be an outcry. But since it's Israel, it's totally okay. As Alex Kane, a senior reporter at Jewish Currents, explains, what made Canary Mission so unique is the leveraging of the internet to create webs of suspicion around people, when all they're doing is advocating for the human rights of Palestinians, meaning the targets of Canary Mission. Don't let these people intimidate you. If your boss is enough of a cuck to fire you because you're criticizing a foreign government, that makes your boss a traitor to this country and a traitor to you, okay? Canary Mission is pathetic. They have gone after my family members over my political speech, even though they've never even uttered a single word about Israel. And they're not gonna intimidate us. They're pathetic little crybabies. And as Americans, we have the right to criticize anyone, anything, and any damn country we want. And if you ask me, Israel has been a major liability to the United States. It's about time we snip, cut that relationship entirely. And you know what? Younger generations totally agree with me. That day will come, and I can't wait. All right, we gotta take a break. We'll be back. Appreciate the comment from Box here. And Box, I've noticed you're a viewer of lots of content that ranges in political ideology. And I love that about you because I think that keeps you pretty level-headed. This is exactly how I feel about the situation that just occurred in Minneapolis, Minnesota. As a civilian CCW holder, the question we must ask ourselves is not, can I shoot, but must I shoot? I'm just not seeing the must part here. That's exactly right. If you have the opportunity, you have enough time to pull the gun and shoot, that means you had enough time to just move out of the way and prevent robbing someone of her life. She's trying to evade the authorities. You want to press charges again. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is robbing someone of their life and how quick, authorities are in doing that. And how quick some Americans are in defending that type of violence. I really don't get it. Dav Mill writes in and says, I'm of the opinion that everyone should read the commentaries of Sir William Blackstone, 1765, at least once, then use it as reference material. It's still used and quoted by lawyers and courts in the United States. All right, I will take your advice on that. I actually have not read that, and it could be helpful. So Suni K8G writes in and says, hey Anna, have you seen the roasting Nick Fuentes has been getting on X this week from other far-right groups and also far-left factions like the American Communist Party? If you're referring to the backlash he's received in supporting regime change war in Venezuela, yes, I have seen that. And look, there are reasons why people have accused him of being a Fed. Whether or not he's a Fed, I have no idea, right? But what I do know is that 3 years after January 6th happened, someone in the area that I live in, who was like marginal to the riots that took place on January 6th, got arrested. There is video of Nick Fuentes on the scene directing people and telling them what to do on January 6th. How did he not get arrested? Like, I just find that strange. And maybe there's a legitimate explanation for it. I have no idea, but I've seen him flip-flop a lot. I've seen him present himself as someone who doesn't want to get involved in foreign entanglements and wants to focus on America first, and then he cheerleads foreign entanglements. I have no idea what that guy's real identity is, and I don't really care. Okay, what I care about is what the facts are, and let's just stick to that. All right, let's go to DJ Payne, 1236. They should all be fired, meaning the ICE agents arrested and charged. Here. Gargoyle Dragon says militias thought Obama would do this. They thought Biden would do this. Trump did this. I'm sick over the victim leaving cold and afraid. The victim couldn't even leave. The victim, was shot and killed. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Just wanted to remind you to remember about our sponsor, Mobile Noble, the only phone plan that pays you to use your phone less. Get unlimited data for just $50 a month, powered by the T-Mobile network. I'm with T-Mobile, and you know what? Their service is pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. Plus, you get cash back for your unused data. You can switch today by going to tyt.com/switch. That's tyt.com/switch. All right, let's get to this story because I'm personally getting a little tired of people who are still surprised that Tulsi Gabbard isn't some sort of dove. She's always been a war hawk, regardless of how she presented herself on the campaign, trail. So let's get right to that. Got a cold open for this? No? All right.
The neocons, neolibs, and mainstream media are all singing from the same song sheet, saying, we want war, we need more war. Now, Trump never gets media support unless he's threatening war. Today, it's Venezuela.
The president has been crystal clear. Military action is possible if that's what's required.
But he needs to understand that a bullet to the forehead may be his way out of Venezuela.
Sometimes one kick at the door and the whole rotten edifice falls down.
Tomorrow, Iran.
I am so pleased that President Trump is letting the Iranian president know there's a new sheriff in town.
Well, the Tulsi Gabbard of May 2019 certainly does not sound like the war-promoting hack that she is presenting herself as in the Trump administration today. Now, of course, she serves as Trump's director of national intelligence, and she was pretty silent following the abduction of Nicolas Maduro, the now former president of Venezuela. She had been rather silent when it came to the military aggression that was directed at Venezuela. But on January 6th, days after that abduction took place, she finally broke her silence, and here's what she had to say. President Trump promised the American people he would secure our borders, confront narco-terrorism, dangerous drug cartels, and drug traffickers. Kudos to our servicemen and women and intelligence operators for their flawless execution of President Trump's order to deliver on his promise through Operation Absolute Resolve. Now, anyone with two brain cells to rub together knows that what has just occurred in Venezuela, the US aggression toward Venezuela, has literally nothing to do with drugs whatsoever. You have to be like the most empty-headed shill for the Trump administration to genuinely believe that. I mean, Trump's not even talking about narco traffickers anymore. All you hear from Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump himself is oil, oil, oil. We got the oil, we stole the oil, we are total thugs. And this was all about the oil. But homegirls on X posting about how this is a war against narco traffickers? Are you for real? Just today, Trump posted on social media that he does not think that $1 trillion to the Defense Department is enough. He is asking Congress to up the ante, increase the amount to $1.5 trillion. Got anything to say about that, Tulsi? No? I mean, I didn't expect you to, because I've always known that Tulsi Gabbard was not who she presented herself to be. She's always been a fraud. And I paid a really heavy price for telling the truth about Tulsi Gabbard years ago. Now, her views on Venezuela were supposedly very different not too long ago. This was when she was planning to run for the Democratic primary and, in her mind, probably make it to the general, which luckily she didn't. But when she was running, she really presented herself as this peace-loving, aloha yoga video posting candidate. I'll give you some examples. Now, a lot of these are actually to the lead up of her announcement of her candidacy, but nonetheless, it's a good juxtaposition from who she presented herself as years ago and who she is today. So in January of 2019, she says, the United States needs to stay out of Venezuela. Let the Venezuelan people determine their future. We don't want other countries to choose our leaders, so we have to stop trying to choose theirs. Now, today she's saying that all that aggression toward Venezuela is about narco trafficking. But she was more clear-headed back in the day when she said, it's about the oil again. Bolton, meaning John Bolton, just exposed real motive for intervention in Venezuela. Quote, we're in conversation with major American companies now. It would make a difference if we could have American companies produce the oil in Venezuela. We both have a lot at stake here. I mean, I can go on and on. Here's one from February 2019. The root cause of mass immigration on our southern border is our history of US military intervention in Latin America that left countries destroyed. Before we talk about a wall, we need to end our ongoing threats of intervention, this time in Venezuela. I'm gonna skip ahead because most of the time she's taking jabs at the Trump administration, but she didn't name Trump specifically, except for this specific example that I'm about to give you right now. Let's go to graphic 7. Trump campaigned against regime change wars when he ran for president, but now bows to the wishes of the neocons around him, clamoring for the regime change wars he claimed to oppose, this time in Venezuela and Iran. You can totally post that about yourself, Tulsi. Congratulations. Now, at the time, she even took that message to Fox News. Take a look.
What we are hearing is an increased saber-rattling intention saying the United States needs to send in the US military now to wage yet another wasteful, counterproductive regime change war.
Do you believe that Nicolas Maduro has been a horrific leader for his people and that he should go?
I think that the Venezuelan people ultimately need to be the ones to make that decision.
But they have made that decision.
The United States is not helping the situation by interfering and basically pushing for externally yet another regime change war that history shows us has not turned out to have a positive impact on the people in the countries where we wage these wars.
Now look, I want to be very clear and just repeat over and over again that Tulsi Gabbard never had some major ideological shift. the warmongering, kowtowing politician that you're hearing from today is the politician she's always been. And I mean that, and I provided evidence of that literally 6 years ago and paid a heavy price for doing so. So look, to make it clear, she didn't have an ideological shift. The Trump administration isn't shutting her down or making her comply with their pro-war agenda. Okay, she's always been pro-war. In fact, watching her interviews closely, listening closely, looking at her record, actually reading her record, revealed 6 years ago that she wasn't who she was presenting herself to be. And I reported on that. At the time, I was hosting a show at the network called No Filter. And this is just a snippet, just one example I gave to provide evidence that she actually wasn't a dove, she was an anti-interventionist, and was very much in favor of the very wars that anti-interventionists have been criticizing. Take a look.
It would be misleading and unfair to my audience if I pretended there weren't some concerns for progressives. Most of the worries I personally have center on Tulsi's foreign policy views. While she's clear in her disdain for military intervention in the name of regime change, she is supportive of the war against terror. The Intercept reports that Tulsi has argued in support of the global war on terror, a position antithetical to her anti-war image. The website votetulsi.com includes a direct quote by the Congresswoman that reads, "In short, when it comes to the war against terrorists, I'm a hawk. When it comes to counterproductive wars on regime change, I'm a dove." While that might sound okay on the surface, think about how many interventions the US has found itself in since the Bush administration, all in the name of fighting terrorism, right? So I'm not just talking about Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm talking about major military operations in Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen, right? These were all done in the name of fighting terror. There have also been US-led coalition airstrikes in Mali, Syria, Libya, and West African airstrikes in Nigeria.
Now, Somalia began under Bush 1, not his son. So that actually dates back to the first Bush administration. But I also want to note that the war on terror included many regime change wars, right? So when she said, when it comes to the war on terror, I'm a hawk, but when it comes to regime change, I'm a dove, she was insulting your intelligence because she just assumed you didn't know that the war on terror included regime change wars. Anyway, that was just one example. Other than that, I provided evidence that she was supportive of the US's illegal torture campaign, which Dick Cheney referred to with the euphemism of enhanced interrogations. I mean, there were multiple examples. She has a very close relationship with Narendra Modi. In fact, I believe he officiated her wedding. And he is not a dove, especially as it pertains to Muslims. So she showed who she was if you were willing to look closely, if you were willing to examine her record. And that's what I wanted to do because it was important for me to ensure that everyone was fully informed of all the various Democratic candidates who were running in the primary that year. But I got a lot of backlash. I got a lot of hate from progressives who just didn't want to hear it. They wanted to, support her. They didn't want to hear that she had some stains on her record that they probably wouldn't be in favor of. And so there was some backlash. But the backlash that really bothered me was the backlash coming from her campaign because we were set to do an interview with Tulsi Gabbard at the time. Cenk and I had her booked, we were ready to go. I do that report and we got a message from her campaign. What was that message? I'll remind you.
Although I would have loved to ask Gabbard about the issues raised in my previous episode of No Filter, I was informed by her camp that I would not be part of the interview she had with TYT last Friday. It was surprising and a very surprising demand considering no other candidate had done the same, regardless of how critical I've been about their positions in the past. I've said multiple times that true leaders put themselves in uncomfortable positions when it's the right thing to do. And answering the questions I had was the right thing to do.
Now, I wanted Cenk to still do the interview. He did do the interview and I provided him with all of the research I had. And he asked her very difficult questions and she did not take kindly to that. I also made sure to sit right here in the studio and watch live in the flesh. Yeah. So Tulsi Gabbard has always been a fraud. And I'm glad that pretty much everyone has finally woken up to that. I think it's important for people to know who they're dealing with here. And just as a quick reminder of what Trump is actually doing in Venezuela, it's not about the drugs, it's not about drug trafficking, it is about the oil. And if any Americans have unfortunately been misled into thinking that the US seizing the oil of a sovereign country is gonna benefit all of us, unfortunately, you'd be mistaken. Journalist Lisa Desjardins has written that the Trump administration plans to put money raised from seizure of Venezuelan oil into bank accounts outside the US Treasury. They told lawmakers today, per multiple sources familiar. Every time I think of the Trump administration these days, I think of that B.I.G. song, like, give me the loot, give me the loot. Like that's all this is, it's amazing. Sources said they understood these as similar or decidedly offshore accounts. So she's reaching out to the White House for more clarification and later said, I have now confirmed this with people from both parties and working in both chambers of Congress. Just yesterday, President Donald Trump announced that the oil companies who are a little iffy on oil extraction in Venezuela because it's gonna cost a lot of money. They have to build up the infrastructure there. It could cost as much as $60 billion. He wants to tell them, listen, don't worry, have no fear. You're gonna be able to privatize your profits, of course, but I'll get the US taxpayers to reimburse you for the costs of building up the infrastructure in a foreign country so you can extract their oil and then profit from it. And I guess keep that money in offshore bank accounts. So that's what this is really about, Tulsi. And if you think Americans are so stupid that they're just gonna buy these lies about narco-terrorism, I mean, there's a percentage, but an increasing percentage of Americans are realizing that you're full of crap, and I'm happy to see it. We gotta take a break. When we come back, I'll do one more segment on Venezuela, and then Cenk will join us. We'll be right back.
What contributions to the progressive cause are you most proud of? I mean, I don't have super high aspirations for a singular role that I can play in the movement or anything. I try to present myself as what I think that I am, which is a progressive man who is driven by I think, well-interrogated and well-organized system of values that I try to stay consistent on, and I demonstrate that that's the sort of life that a person can lead and be successful and be happy and all of that. And that should not need to be done, but there are so many people on the right that are trying to push men in the opposite direction that I want to be able to do that. Along the way, if I can get people to care about some topics that they wouldn't necessarily care about, or that for some men they might think that's not a topic that they should be focused on, that's definitely something that I relish doing. And along the way, I mean, we've been able to introduce people to a lot of candidates. That's been a big part of what we've done. You know, not all of them necessarily got in office. Probably most of them did not. And a lot of them you might not even remember their names. But it was great to be able to provide people the platform where they had the chance of, you know, making a difference. Obviously AOC and all that, but there's been a lot of great people along the way.
In the bonus episode for the members, we do some inside baseball. We're gonna look at John's desk. Nice little spaceship here. Nerd. But it is kind of look cool. Who has Legos? Oh no. He's taken apart a keyboard. Who has a mouse pad that's this big? He's got a dog with a nose that you can hang something on. You know what this desk screams to me? Nerd. And that's how we like him. We love Johnny Pie. He's got his own personality like everybody does at TYT. Come meet us all in the bonus episodes. TYT.com/team. David Sorrell, Anita Turner.
Is Adam Green drop by?
Charlemagne.
Congressman, great to have you. It's great to be with you, Cenk.
Your show is a great thing. You're informing people. A lot of the shows that I live on, you know, my CNN, my MSNBC, and even Fox, and any of the other shows, NPR, they are so quick to decide that they know what this building means today.
The one thing that I hate that politicians do, you know, they talk a about the people they should be talking to.
Do they have any idea that they're the establishment and that they're hated, or do they not realize that at all?
People are so deeply in their little universe. I think it's very easy to not really question what you're doing.
Voters have a right to ask questions of any nominee, whether they're independent, Republican, or Democrat.
The system is duopoly that suppresses competition.
How is it the year 2024 and we're still like, maybe they'll talk about paid medical? Like how is that like at one level it's like, good, what we're talking about it now. You're like, it's 2024. And that's always been the critique, that your critique of us is, well, you guys give good speeches, you put out good tweets, but you're not wielding actual power. Now we're starting to.
My favorite news platform by far. It's not even close.
It's about a country and a principle, and that's what you and I both work to achieve, and I'm so glad that at least half the battle has now been won.
If you want to go really hear what's going on honestly, you should tune into the Young Turks.
Thanks for doing such a great job. Please keep it up. Hang tough.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, I like making that.
I didn't know about that.
This is a happy Anna Kasparian. You're welcome, YouTube.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real, positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
This is humanity, bitch, and you should appreciate it. Woo! Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Anna Kasparian, and we're not quite done with the topic of Venezuela, so I want to get right to our next story. US forces have seized 2 more oil tankers, and for the purposes of this discussion, I want to focus on the fact that they have seized a Russian oil tanker in its ongoing blockade of Venezuelan oil. The issue here, though, is that the seizure of this particular tanker isn't really about Venezuelan oil. They suspected that it was carrying Iranian oil. So remember, our country is supposed to do the bidding of Israel, and Israel doesn't like Iran. So we've got these sanctions against Iran. And as a result, the US is using that as justification for seizing this oil tanker like pirates would. Now, anyway, let me give you all the details. You can decide for yourselves how you feel about this, because the seizure does represent the Trump administration's latest aggression on the international stage. So the US had engaged in this weeks-long pursuit of this specific Russian tanker that's named the Marinera, which they got to name it something else, man. You're making me hungry. But okay, they named it the Marinera, but it wasn't always called the Marinera. It used to be called the Bella One. Now, the way that they changed the name is actually kind of funny, so we'll get to that in just a second. But it had been attempting to evade US forces for over 2 weeks. So US forces are like chasing it down, chasing it down. They finally managed to seize the tanker. It was sailing near Iceland last night when it was intercepted by American forces. And the tanker was sanctioned by the United States last year for allegedly carrying sanctioned oil. Now, the UK, the British forces specifically, took part in this operation. The Marinera, by the way, was even being escorted by a Russian Navy ship and submarine, and it was flying a Russian flag. Remember, we're talking about 2 nuclear powers here when it comes to Russia and the United States. And so it is a little concerning to see this type of direct aggression carried out by the United States against a Russian tanker. But The US did it with the help of British forces who supported the operation. The UK Defense Ministry cited assessments that the vessel had been involved in illegal activity linked to international terrorism and crime, including Hezbollah, and part of the web of rising shadow activity that fuels and finances nefarious activity across the globe. I mean, we don't do any nefarious activity across the globe, right? Like, is Hezbollah a threat to us? Like, why do we care about Hezbollah? Why do we care about Hezbollah? I don't care about Hezbollah. I don't. Sorry. Why are we using our resources to go after a tanker carrying oil that supposedly supports Hezbollah's activities? How about Israel spend some of its money? How about that? But anyway, according to the US, the tanker allegedly carries oil from sanctioned countries, so Iran in particular in this case. The US believed that it was actively shipping Iranian oil during the time that it was seized. The tanker was docked in Iran back in August of last year. But in November, it started to make its way toward Venezuela. By December, it reached the Caribbean, where the US Coast Guard attempted to board the vessel. The tanker then dramatically changed course, and this is the part that I find kind of funny. Okay, so this is where the name change happens. It didn't work, but while it was being chased, it stopped transmitting its location and then changed its name from Bella One to Marinera, and then re-registered as a Russian vessel. Now, Secretary of State Pete Hegseth has put out some statements about this on social media, particularly on X, where he writes that the blockade of sanctioned and illicit Venezuelan oil remains in full effect anywhere in the world. Again, there's some contradictions here because most credible news sources have said that US officials believe that it was carrying oil from Iran and was headed for Venezuela, but I wouldn't really expect our Secretary of War to really be caught up on the facts of the story. But nonetheless, Hegseth also says that the United States continues to enforce the blockade against all dark fleet vessels illegally transporting Venezuelan oil to finance illicit activity, stealing from the Venezuelan people. The ball's on this guy. The ball's on this guy. You're worried about stealing from the Venezuelan people? That's like what we're currently engaging in right now. But okay, only legitimate and lawful energy commerce as determined by the United States, because we are the police, we are the global police, will be permitted. Now, Russia's transport ministry has responded to this, saying that the high seas are governed by the principle of freedom of navigation, and no state has the right to use force against vessels duly registered under the jurisdiction of other states. One Russian official or politician, I should say, said that the US had turned to outright piracy on the high seas. And honestly, someone had to say it. I had been thinking about that as well. Remember when the Somali pirates were a huge problem and a big story? This is like many years ago. And we're kind of acting like the pirates, aren't we? Like, we're talking about two sovereign countries trading oil. Like, who are we to intercept in international waters and potentially escalate a conflict with a nuclear power like Russia? I think it's incredibly dumb, but okay. Yesterday, Trump posted the following: I'm pleased to announce that the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high quality sanctioned oil to, let's cross out the United States and say US based oil companies who will then turn a profit and not share those profits with anyone. They're making profits for themselves. Like, this isn't gonna benefit the American people. But the oil will be sold at market price, and that money will be controlled by me as President of the United States of America to ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. Right. I will believe it when I see it, and I certainly do not believe it. And I don't think I'll ever see it, but I would be very happy to be proven wrong on this. It's just that Trump has lied time and time again. He has engaged in all sorts of deals that benefit himself and his family or benefit his donors, but don't actually benefit the American people. We have a story later on in the show that takes a deep look at jobs related data. And it shows that we are bleeding construction jobs, manufacturing jobs, effectively the very blue collar jobs that Trump campaigned on increasing here in the United States through his fancy tariffs. Looks like the opposite has actually happened. And in the meantime, Trump is demanding that Congress allocate even more money to the Pentagon, the government agency that has failed every single audit. He doesn't think $1 trillion a year is enough. He wants $1.5 trillion. So according to the Wall Street Journal, 30 to 50 million barrels of oil is up to 15% of Venezuela's total output. However, the Wall Street Journal did not explain, like what time frame that's relative to. So the total output per year, per month, like we're not really sure. So that's currently what's happening in international waters. We're still seizing tankers. We are still engaging in aggression against Venezuela. It remains to be seen whether or not the current Venezuelan regime, it's the same regime that Maduro was the leader of. It's just that they now have a new leader. Is she going to be malleable? Is she going to comply with the Trump administration and give them everything that the Trump administration wants? I don't know, but I do know that Maduro had offered the oil to the Trump administration because he didn't want war, he didn't want hostilities, and Trump turned that down. So we'll see, maybe the regime will be willing to comply with the Trump administration. But I want to pour cold water on the notion that any of this was done to benefit the American people, that any of this was done to overthrow the communist regime in Venezuela. No, this has nothing to do with that. This is about making good on the promise that Trump made to oil executives in the lead up to the election. He met with them and he said, if you fund my campaign to a certain amount, and it was a large number, I will do your bidding. And that's exactly what he's been up to. This is not about us, and it's not about the people of Venezuela. He could care less, couldn't care less, I should say. This is about profiteering, and we are going to pay, according to Trump, for the infrastructure necessary to extract the oil from Venezuela. So he will ensure that the gains are privatized for the oil companies and the costs are socialized for American taxpayers who are currently living in a country drowning in federal debt. Unfortunately, though, the views of some Americans when it comes to what Trump just carried out in Venezuela don't really align with my thoughts. So I wanted to get to that and talk a little bit about what Harry Enton has been reporting on, public sentiment. So let's get to that. How do the American people feel about what just took place in Venezuela? Do they like the fact that the Trump administration has abducted Venezuela's now former president, Nicolas Maduro? Are they in favor of military aggression against Venezuela? Well, on Monday, CNN's Harry Enton reported on some polling that was taken before the operation was carried out. Let's take a look at that.
If this turns out to be a positive for Donald Trump, or at least support for this operation. Why? US military ousting Venezuela's president beforehand. Look at this, 47% opposed, just 21% of Americans favored. The unsure was higher than the favor, 29% versus 21%. And get this, just 39% of Republicans favored it. People are saying, this could be a wag the dog moment. I have to ask, which dog are they wagging the tail of?
Sometimes these numbers change when an operation is seen as successful, but we just don't know.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I don't think this, wagging of the tail will actually work out is because folks' interest in this story has very much been going adios amigos, goodbye. I mean, just take a look here. Take a look here. Google searches for Nicolas Maduro after peaking this weekend, down 70%, down 70% versus Saturday. There was a peak on Saturday, but John, then the interest went, see you later.
Now, unfortunately, on Monday, or actually I should say yesterday, Enton was singing a different tune. Here's why.
Military ousting Maduro. Pre-ousting, what you saw was the clear plurality of Americans opposed at 47%, just 21% support. Come over to this side of the screen. After the ousting, look at that. The support through the roof. Now we're talking about 37%, well within the margin of error right here of the opposition, 38%. It turns out Americans like what they deem to be successful foreign policy operations. And in this case, they view the ousting of Maduro, at least up to this point, as a successful one, and therefore the support way up. Part of the reason why I think that the success number is way up, and you saw it here, what was it? It was 26 points in favor of opposition, and now within the margin of error, is because they simply don't like Nicolas Maduro. And in fact, they believe that he should be on trial for drug trafficking. Look at this, 50% of Americans favor compared to just 14% who oppose. So there are very few Americans here who oppose it. Even among Democrats, the opposition number is below, get this, just 24%, is below 25%.
Okay, all right. Look, the thing about drug trafficking drives me crazy because it's like just totally fabricated. Like Maduro and Venezuela, they're not major players in drug trafficking. They're just not. They're not. But okay, putting that aside, I think the good news is 37% supporting what Trump just did is not a massive number. It's not the majority of Americans. So yeah, there was a little uptick in support for what Trump did, but I don't think that it's really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And in fact, it is perceived, I think, as something that was carried out successfully because we don't currently have boots on the ground, and it doesn't, for now, seem like we're gonna get dragged into a quagmire, an ongoing war. I mean, things could obviously change. Trump is a wild card, and his administration is full of unhinged individuals who are absolutely salivating at every opportunity to go to war. So we have to wait and see, but yeah, I'm sure that some see this as successful, that heroic United States abducted the country, the leader of a foreign and sovereign country, and now we're gonna take their oil. We're so great, everyone loves us. But anyway, for now, the polling on the issue is still mixed. Reuters Ipsos conducted a poll over the weekend, for instance, and in their estimation, many Americans are troubled by the operation. I think most Americans are good people, and they can see the difference between right and wrong. I think most people can understand what is moral and immoral. 1 in 3 Americans approves of the US military strike on Venezuela that toppled the country's president, and 72% worry the US will become too involved in Venezuela. They should be worried because we could end up getting too involved in Venezuela, and we shouldn't be. We need to focus on what's happening here at home, and there are a lot of problems. Now, let's take a look at this graph, which will kind of give you a little more insight here. So the survey by Reuters Ipsos asks, do you approve of the US military action to remove Maduro? 65% of Republicans approved the operation. And honestly, that is a high number, but it's not as high as I would predict, so I'll take it, I guess. Only 6% outright disapproved, about 30% weren't sure. Just 11% of Democrats stated that they approved of the operation. Only 23% of other respondents, AKA independents, approved. That gives me a little bit of hope. 42% weren't sure and 35% disapproved. I love my independents. So let's go to the next graphic. This one gives even more insight. So it asks, are you concerned the US will get too involved in Venezuela? Well, 54% of Republicans, a majority of American voters are concerned that the US will get too involved in Venezuela, and that does include 54% of Republicans, 90% of Democrats, and 74% of independents. And despite all of that, the operation seems to have helped Trump's approval rating overall, although it's not something that I personally would write home about. The poll showed Trump's approval rating at 42%, the highest rating since October, and up from 39% in a December poll. It's pretty sad when our presidents, and this isn't just about Trump, I mean, it was the same with Biden as well. It's really sad when our presidents can't crack past 50% approval. Just shows you how much distrust and disdain Americans are feeling toward our political system, our institutions, and our leaders. And I think for good reason. A lot of people are struggling. And I think most people understand that what's currently transpiring with the seizure of a foreign sovereign country's oil is not really for the benefit of the American people. It's for the benefit of private oil companies who seek to profit off of it. But don't worry, you will be paying for the costs associated with extracting that oil, just that you're not gonna see those profits. Anyway, we gotta take a break. When we come back, more news for you, don't miss it.
Bow chickie wow wow going down.
Dav Mill is on fire. All right, I'm gonna do a rapid fire round because Dav has been very generous with super chats and has been writing in. I'm of the opinion, I read that already. Next one, FBI agent Lon Horiuchi, 1992, took by DOJ's own admission an illegal shot and killed Vicky Weaver, never prosecuted. He was promoted and retired from the FBI in the 2000s, nothing new. Great. Great. Scandinavian Alien Dragon says, you know what other terrorist group refused to let medics help? The IDF. This is international. Fear is the goal. Wake up, America. Yeah, I'm beginning to see that. And by the way, others agree with you, including Sid Life 365, who says ICE is like the IDF. God brought the pain home so you can see what it's like to be under occupation. I just wish the Americans who claim they're worried about government tyranny actually acted like it and pushed back against what we're seeing on the streets by federal agents. Anyway, let's go to Don Whitehead, 1896, who says, even if Dems win midterms and they impeach Trump, how do we remove him? He's not gonna, look, I don't think Republicans are ever gonna play ball in impeaching Trump, like actually removing Trump. So yeah, your concern is completely valid. And if the Democrats think that taking over the House should be used specifically to do endless investigations and impeachments of Trump that they know isn't gonna lead to anything, it's gonna be very frustrating, okay? Like they have to have a better strategy in mind and they don't really seem to have any imagination when it comes to fighting back in a more effective way. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to Atmosphere 404, who says, I'd rather live knowing the truth about our corrupt government and abroad than walk around clueless. I'm here for the Salt Queen every day. I can't tell you how much I agree with that. And I would rather risk everything I have to speak my mind than be intimidated by anyone. Certainly foreigners who don't like the fact that I'm critical of their genocidal government. Anyway, Sid Life 365 says Anna, the judge presiding over Netanyahu's corruption charges, apparently died in a very suspicious motorcycle accident. I want to report on that. Welcome back to the show, everyone. One of our viewers wrote in during our social break and drew attention to the fact that a judge presiding over Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption case has died in what even authorities are describing as a suspicious accident. So I want to make sure that we have the facts right on that story. And once I have enough time, hopefully by tomorrow, to do enough research to get those facts right, we will share that story with you. But for now, that's all I personally know about it. And I want to be responsible and wait until, again, I'm as informed about it as possible. I have the receipts, and then I'll share the details with you. For now, though, let's talk a little bit about our economy, how people are feeling about the Trump administration when it comes to the economy. I think this is an important story. I don't want it to fall by the wayside, so let's get to it. In what I personally believe is a desperate attempt to bounce back from lost support from his base, President Donald Trump today announced that he wants to ban institutional investors from buying homes. Now, I'll believe it when I see it, because Homeboy says all sorts of things and never follows through. But one other thing that I will say about that, I would support him doing this, but it would not be the fix to our housing crisis that a lot of people would think it would be. The biggest issue with our housing crisis right now is lack of homes. We need to build more. You build more, that's gonna bring costs down. So while I welcome this and I hope it happens, I am suspicious toward Trump. I don't think he's actually gonna do it. If he does do it, I support it, but it's not gonna solve our very deep issues with the housing market. Now, the move, though, is likely a response to how young voters have been feeling about Trump. Now, he won the popular vote in large part because young voters flocked to his campaign and they decided to vote for him. But now they've changed their minds. Polling indicates that they have soured on Trump, so I wanna give you some of that data. Now, Trump shared his supposed plans about the private equity and the institutional investors buying up homes on a Truth Social post. So I want to give you the details on that first. He says, for a very long time, buying and owning a home was considered the pinnacle of the American dream. Because of the high inflation or record high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress, that American dream is increasingly out of reach for far too many people, especially younger Americans. I am immediately taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single family homes, and I will be calling on Congress to codify it. Okay, so again, we'll wait and see. Only time will tell. But let's talk about the polling here, starting with a poll from youth polling expert John Della Volpe. So the poll talks about, or at least addresses, the expenses that young Americans are most concerned about. And the expenses that they're stressed out about are groceries and housing, which, by the way, groceries are insane, like absolutely crazy. I can't believe how much it costs to buy food. Like it really is insane. And housing, of course, is crazy and has been crazy for a long time. Now, some young men thought that Trump would help them, out with these issues, but now many of them say that they're disillusioned. Only 27% of young men agreed that Trump is delivering for people like you. 40% said he talked big but let people like me down, while another 26% responded he's made an effort but didn't deliver. Young men are also, I'm very happy to share this with you. Young men are mostly isolationists, which I can't wait for the future. So here's what the survey found when it came to their isolationism. So avoiding unnecessary wars and conflicts is of paramount importance to young men. 78% of them said it matters, and 68% said they'd be more likely to support a candidate who avoids them. The kids are all right. Now, Trump's policies have damaged his favorability with young voters as well. So in this poll, in the same poll that was carried out last spring, Trump's favorability rating among young men was 56%, but it dropped all the way down to 46% in the more recent poll. So the survey took place in fall of last year, and the participants were as young as 16, as old as 29. So these are really young. I can't even say voters because you can't vote at 16, but younger Americans and what their sentiments are toward Donald Trump. Now, how do young men feel about themselves in the world? Well, his polling revealed that young men are carrying around a lot of negative emotions, but they don't always feel comfortable expressing what they're feeling. So 84% say that they carry a lot of stress or pressure. 77% feel like they're on their own with very little support or help. The same amount say that they do not feel excited or motivated. Like, there's a very real crisis in the country right now. And there has been a lot of attention on how young men are feeling, because if you look at the data, it's not just about self-reporting in these surveys. If you look at the data when it comes to like graduation rates, employment, things like that, young men really are falling behind, and it is a crisis. When you look at where they're at with depression, right? Depression rates have been higher among young men recently. It is a crisis. And if you care about the country, which I absolutely do, you can't just be hyper-focused on your personal identity group, right? You should want everyone in the country to thrive. A happy country is a better place to live. And knowing that so many people are struggling, obviously not just young men, a lot of people are struggling, but you see it being very pronounced when it comes to young men. And I do think it's an issue that needs to be addressed. Exactly half say men are being pushed aside in society. And remember, we shared that compact piece that delved into the numbers of men who had been essentially discriminated against at the workplace. It's kind of crazy talking about it now, because historically speaking, women had been discriminated against in the workplace. But now the tables have turned, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's actually terrible. We should be against discrimination of all forms. Now, which public figures do these young men like? Well, the top 3 in order of favorability rating from highest to lowest. And I found this kind of surprising. You've got Barack Obama at 56%, followed by Mr. Beast at 55%, and Joe Rogan at 53%. By the way, Joe Rogan's recent episode with Kurt Metzger is worth a listen if you want your blood to boil. Like, Kurt Metzger was totally right about Venezuela and how it's not about us, ending drug trafficking from Venezuela. And Rogan mentioned, well, they found the remains of like one of those little fishing boats that they bombed, and there was marijuana. And I don't know, maybe I misread it, maybe I misinterpreted what he was saying, but it's like, oh, are we gonna bomb boats for marijuana now? I don't know, maybe he was trying to prove Metzger's point as correct, that this isn't really about Venezuela being a major drug trafficker. But who knows? I mean, he's avoiding hot button political issues like the plague. His Theo Von interview was terrible. I didn't like it. I think Theo Von wanted to get into a lot of different topics that got shut down right away. But Metzger steamrolled. I mean, it's worth a listen. You should listen to it. Anyway, that's what we've got for that story. Why don't we move on to one more, and then we'll get to some other stuff, including the ongoing protests in Minneapolis. So I want to talk about the job market, because blue collar jobs, we're bleeding those jobs. So while President Trump promised his Liberation Day tariffs would spark a new age of manufacturing here in the United States, unfortunately the data does not bear that out. In fact, the US is bleeding blue collar jobs, and the data shows that we're losing more of these jobs than we have in like the past 5 years. So let me give you the details, let me give you the data. So this is in a recent write-up in Appreciatus Economics. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Joseph Politano is the author, and he used data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics to show the decline in blue collar jobs in America. And the numbers are pretty damning. So let's take a look at this graphic. Let's put this up. So the jobs reported as decreasing include manufacturing jobs, that's represented in yellow. Then you have construction jobs represented with the color green. You see a sharp decline in that as well. You also see a sharp decline in mining, logging, oil, and gas related jobs. That's represented in the color blue. Transportation jobs are also, decreasing. There was a little bit of an increase, and then you see a decrease later on in the graphic. That's represented in lilac, and then utility jobs or jobs related to utility companies, you're seeing a decline in that as well. So if you look at the red line, that shows the total decline in these jobs dating back to 2023. But as you can see in 2025, that red line dipped into the negative territory. So the last 2 times that we've seen a drop this severe were in April of 2020. So that was the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So the forced shutdowns, the mass layoffs that took place led to that sharp decrease of these jobs. And then the second time we saw a similar trend was in August of 2009, which of course was during the Great Recession, the economic collapse. So you can see both of those drops in the graph on the screen right now, and there are some more details. So the country is down 65,000 industrial jobs over the last year, a dramatic reversal from 2024 when the US added a lower than usual but still respectable 250,000 jobs. A major slowdown has hit all blue collar sectors this year, including construction, mining, and utilities, though manufacturing and transportation are driving the vast majority of US job losses. So look, okay, let's take a look at this. So there was a pickup in early 2025 when it came to these jobs, but the decline started in February and has been dropping ever since. So I want to talk a little bit about the reasons for these job losses. So for instance, if you look at employment across all trades and industry, it's now down 123,000 jobs from the all-time peak reached in early 2025 and has been declining nearly every month since February. And this is likely underselling the damage since preliminary estimates for upcoming annual jobs data revisions suggest an additional loss of 100,000 manufacturing jobs and 30,000 construction jobs. Guys, we're in a lot of economic trouble. And this is all happening as the US is taking on more debt. Last year, it had already reached $1 trillion in servicing that debt. And we also have, AI, the emergence of AI. We don't fully understand how much damage that's gonna do to the job market, but it's already done some damage. So my point is, when you take all of this information in context, you realize just how bad the economy is for the common man in the US. And all we're hearing from the Trump administration is how he's gonna engage in these foreign entanglements, how he's gonna send another $8 billion to Israel so they can have their fighter jets and commit all sorts of war crimes and atrocities in the Middle East and annex land. We're hearing about how he's gonna steal oil on behalf of American oil companies who will essentially have us pay for the cost of extracting that oil while they benefit from the profits. I mean, you take it into context and you realize just how dire the situation really is. And recent federal policy changes haven't helped. In fact, changes have only made matters worse. And what's at the center of that? The tariffs. Tariffs are hurting blue collar employment by raising the cost of manufacturing inputs. Immigration raids are disproportionately hurting the construction sector, something that Marjorie Taylor Greene warned about but was ignored. Cuts to industrial policy subsidies have helped push factory construction down more than 8% over the last year. The administration's desired blue collar boom is not happening, quite the opposite. That's where we're at, folks. So these negative feelings, negative sentiment toward the Trump administration by members of his own base, I think is valid, it's justified. People voted him in because he said he was gonna do something about inflation. Now, all he's doing is what the Biden administration did when we were dealing with inflation, pretending like it doesn't exist, blaming other people. It's pathetic and it doesn't work. So here we are. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little bit about the protests that are underway in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome back to our social break. Thank you and welcome to our new members. We've got Johnny Lee Ward D. Duffy. We've also got KM Chug 73 and X Del Rey. You guys gotta take it easy on me with these handles, okay? Like, what are you doing to me here? All right, our members are real fired up, so I wanna read some of your comments. Wedge says, ICE will be the nail in the coffin of this nation if they are allowed to continue unchecked. I mean, it's state-sponsored violence against Americans in various cities across the country. I totally agree with you. Buddy X Locoando says, you can tell just by the tone of Kristi Noem's press conference compared to the tone of Walz's press conference, who's telling the truth. Yeah, and by the way, each Trump administration official who's commented on this has given slightly different accounts of what happened. Like, they can't even get their story straight. It's kind of amazing. There was a great comment from someone in our super chats that I wanted to make sure to read. It was from In Guns We Trust, I think it was. I don't see it. Sorry about that, but the commenter is definitely concerned about authoritarianism carried out by the Trump administration, and I agree with that. Jennifer Marr, 505 in our YouTube members section, says, so this is a woman, it's a woman surrounded by a group of men, armed and aggressive men. She's going to run away as any of us would. It's so obvious that she was trying to flee, that she wasn't trying to run anyone over. And more importantly, the claim that she ran an ICE agent over is so ludicrous given how clear the video is. No one got run over at all. And no one was like rushed to the hospital with serious injuries. What are we even doing here? We know that one person was shot and killed on the scene, lost her life, was robbed of her life, when the ICE agent could have just moved out of the way and actually done his job in finding her later to press charges if you believe that she was evading. But you can't just rob someone of their life because you don't like the fact that they're trying to evade. But apparently some people in this country think it's totally okay when the government acts this way against our own people. All right. The Truth Dragon NJ09 says the ICE agent shot her because he didn't want to chase her, something he had no right to do anyway. Anyway, we've got an update on the story. There are protests underway in Minneapolis, so we're gonna give you the details on that when we come back. See you there.
All right, welcome back to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. All right, we got another important story.
Well, I wanted to fill you all in on the protests that are underway in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's get right to it.
This crowd is very angry. I spoke with multiple people today who say that they did not ask for this. They're angry. ICE is here. They were scared something like this would happen.
The desire to get out and protest and to speak up to this administration of how wrong this is, that is a patriotic duty at this point in time, but it needs to be done safely.
Today, following the fatal ICE shooting of an American citizen in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has stated that it is Americans' patriotic duty to protest ICE safely after she was shot and killed. Now, Cenk, you have seen the video of the ICE shooting, so you're filled in on the details. What are your 2 cents?
Yeah, so just to start here, I thought it was a totally unjustified shooting. Like, really, you thought his life was in mortal danger. And so if you see it as a lot of us are seeing it, and it is a bit of a Rorschach test, which we'll come back to, then of course you're gonna protest. I mean, if this was the Biden era and they were enforcing COVID restrictions, and the same exact woman was in the same exact situation, the law enforcement officer I don't see the right wing going, oh no, it's cool. I'm glad they shot and killed her. And we're good with it. We're good with it. So our politics is infecting how we literally see an event.
That's exactly right, right? So I mean, just think about what transpired on January 6, 2021. One of the people who stormed the Capitol did get shot and killed, and the right wing was outraged by that.
Yeah, so guys, instead of doing whataboutisms on every single one of these, like, okay, well then you guys were wrong about Ashley Babbitt, but you're wrong about this. Why don't we have one standard and a principle that we apply to irrespective of politics and partisanship, right? So look, I know that a lot of people looked at that video and thought he was right to shoot her. I see it all over social media, but I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You saw it from all the angles, including the angle to where she's past him and he's still shooting into her window from the side. That his life was in danger. And so it's amazing how people are affected by a partisan lens.
Guys, can we actually queue up that video from the first story where we covered it? Because I do want to play it again for the purposes of this discussion about the protests. But while you guys get that, let me give you some more details. So we broke down the shooting earlier today on the show. That segment will be linked in the description box if you want to take a look at that. Now, that aside, here's more from Governor Tim Walz.
We won't let them tear us apart. We'll not turn against each other. To Minnesotans, I say this, I feel your anger. I'm angry. They want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully as you always do. From here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary.
So that was the response from the governor of Minnesota. Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, is not accepting that the ICE agent shot and killed an American citizen in self-defense. We showed that in the earlier coverage that we did. But I do want to play the clearest video that I've found of the shooting so everyone can see it and judge for themselves. And also keep in mind what Cenk said about the ICE agent continuing to shoot even as he was on the side of the vehicle as she was attempting to flee. Let's take a look. And we do have a slowed down version, and I want you to pay attention to the placement or how her wheels turn. Take a look. I want to also just note quickly, she backed up because she was trying to flee. She wasn't trying to run him over. She wouldn't have backed up if she intended to run him over.
Yeah, so I've got two more thoughts on the slow motion version of that. You see clearly 2 shots after she's already cleared him. She's already cleared him, and he's still shooting into the car. You can't say that his life is in danger if he's already past the car. It's just impossible to say that. It's just physics, it's just obvious. It's right there on tape, right? And so you could say, oh, well, he thought his life was in danger when she first started speeding up. What did she get up to, 2 miles per hour? I'm being literal, 2 miles per hour. And what was his first reaction? His first reaction was to go for his gun. You can rewatch the tape. your first reaction should be step out of the way.
Exactly.
Then, you want to draw a gun to threaten her, but not to shoot her. You want to try to find a way to apprehend her. You've already got her plates on the record. It's not like we can't chase her down, right, etc. But why don't you move out of the way if you think your life is in mortal danger? Why is your first reflex, let me murder this person, and then I'll figure it out afterwards? So guys, look at it, watch. Okay, so she's now, okay, the wheels are spinning, you're worried, but well, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. Why are you in the way? Why are you drawing your gun? What are you doing? And now he shoots once in the front, second time in the side, third time on the side. No. Look, I'm not gonna be on that jury. That jury is gonna have a completely different conversation than this because they're gonna look at his history. They claim that he was hit once before and dragged. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it'll be a mitigating circumstance. They'll look at a lot of things. They'll look at that first time when her wheels are spinning and he's still in front of the car. And they'll have to decide beyond a reasonable doubt whether he killed her, murdered her, homicide, manslaughter, whatever it might be. But we're not in that courtroom right now. We're in this courtroom where we're all trying to decide what happened here and how should we react. So the most important thing is do not react in anger and be peaceful. Tim Walz is right about that. Because if you go and you clash in the streets, you go to the streets.
They have no problem killing you.
Yeah.
They have no problem killing you. That's what I'm worried about. Please be safe out there.
And then then it becomes a bigger and bigger mess. And then both sides start attacking each other. And they've done a brilliant job of dividing us.
100%.
Just as we were beginning to unite on a bunch of super important things, now we all have to be at each other's throats over this. So, and if you're on the right, First Amendment, brothers and sisters, what did we talk about? Freedom, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom to actually protest your government. That's also in the First Amendment. So you can't say you're against protests. You can say you're against violent protests and people who break the law, no question, okay? That applies equally to both sides. They're throwing bricks through windows anyway. By the way, if you're on the left and you see anyone breaking the law or doing violence, turn them in. Because A, they're gonna use that against you. B, I don't even really believe they're on the left. And if you're doing that, you're not on the left. You're not, you're an idiot and you're causing great damage. Forget the left, to the country if you do violence at this point, right? So get those guys out of your midst if they're in your midst. But overall, guys, whenever you see, okay, so that's a bad ICE agent, in my opinion, doing a totally unjustifiable shooting. Let's say there's a protest and a guy throws a brick through a window, etc. That's a bad actor, terrible guy, should be arrested, etc. That doesn't mean 2,000 protesters or 20,000 protesters are all guilty. And by the way, it also doesn't mean every single ICE officer is guilty.
That's right.
That guy is guilty, okay? Yep. And so I've said this many times on January 6th, because we're principled and fair and honest. The people who went to Trump's speech but did not go to the Capitol and did not break in had nothing to do with the break-in.
Right.
So you can't blame the guys who were at the speech. That doesn't make any sense. They have every right to go to a speech. They have every right to protest, right? If we take away the right to protest, is it really America? Is it really freedom? So, and if you can't see why people would want to protest over this, when one of their neighbors is shot dead in a situation like this, you're trying super hard not to see it.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to go to CNN's reporting on the ground in Minneapolis. Let's take a quick look at that.
There has been a crowd here for several hours in the aftermath of the shooting. People here are very angry. What you're hearing now is, a lot of anger that's being directed toward the Minneapolis Police Department. We've seen multiple federal law enforcement agencies on scene here: the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, Customs and Border Patrol. Locally, we're seeing the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office and the Minneapolis Police Department. This all comes amid this ramped-up immigration effort here, where DHS has 2,000 DHS agents are spread throughout the Twin Cities. Again, their largest immigration operation to date. Again, people here in Minneapolis are very angry, and we're very angry about that operation at all. Now today, their anger is heightened, and right now it is being directed toward the Minneapolis Police Department, who they think in this moment is protecting ICE and not them.
I shared this in the initial story that we did about it, but the victim here is a 37-year-old woman, an American citizen by the name of Renee Nicole Good. She was a mother, so now her children will grow up without their mother. In a situation that could have been prevented, she didn't need to be shot and killed. I think that's pretty clear from the video.
Yeah, one last thing, guys. Not everything is worthy of a death sentence. A death sentence is the most extreme thing in the world. And when you shoot someone in the face, that's a death sentence. So you could say, look, I get it. I would have been worried for my life in that situation. I don't get it, but I understand that others view it differently, right? And look, we had this debate about the skateboards and the plastic bags and all the things that were thrown. And would that make you feel like you're in mortal danger? And different people have different opinions, okay? And a totally different, the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, okay? I get that people have different opinions. But do you really think that in that situation, you would have killed her and left her child motherless?
There's no way.
Like, come on, please tell me that you wouldn't have killed her. That is not something worthy of killing someone over 2 miles per hour going by you. No, this is madness. Don't let them divide us. They want us at each other's throats. And if you do that on both sides, you're giving the people in power the greatest gift. That's exactly what they're looking for here. We should unite as Americans, have decent law enforcement that protects us, and obviously we should allow for protests left, right, center.
And don't cheer on state-sponsored violence against its citizens. Don't normalize that.
Yeah, I mean, for the folks who are worried about jackbooted thugs of the government and government tyranny, you should be a little bit careful. And if you think, oh, it's okay, it's just the left wing, it's the left wing today. What's it gonna be tomorrow? All right, so guys, we got an Operation Hope Town Hall that's coming up. I'm gonna do that one. One of the great Rebellion PAC candidates, Hartzell Gray from Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, is joining us in there. And you guys get to ask him any questions you want. You can go and register for the town hall at tyt.com/hope, and I'll see you there in a minute.
Adios, amigos, goodbye.